I think we're going live now. Thank you very much for attending Cabinet on 5th September, 2:30 p.m. in Council Chamber in the Town Hall. Welcome everybody to the meeting, both virtually and in person. We've got apologies from Councillor Cassie Scott. Eric Firth is on his way. I think he's just missed his train, but he should be here as soon as possible. Minutes of previous meeting held on 26th of July and the 9th of August are the record. Thank you, members. We've agreed them. If you have any declaration of interest, please complete the form and hand it in to Andrea at the end of the meeting, or email it to her if there are any members watching online. Admission of the public. We don't have any members of the public. Any deputations or petitions? I've not been told there are any. Is that right, Andrea?
No, there aren't.
Thank you. Item 6, questions by members of the public. There are any members of the public. Item 7, questions by elected members. Councillor Taylor, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I have 2 questions, but neither of the Cabinet members are here, which is a bit unfortunate. But I'll ask them of yourself, Chair, but you may possibly want to get somebody else to answer later. So the first one really was for Councillor Eric Firth. And it's about buses. So we've seen the announcement recently from the Mayor of West Yorkshire about the £2 maximum fare for buses, which is great. And it's good to see that the government is also funding a freeze on bus prices at £2 during the winter period. My concern, though, is for people to benefit from that, they need buses in the first place. You may or may not be aware, but one of the bus companies that serves part of my patch, Farnley Tyres, Stocksmall and Thurstonland, currently have no buses whatsoever. So my question really is, A, is the council aware of that? And if so, what are we doing to work with and lobby the West Yorkshire Combined Authority to make sure that there is some provision provided for people at the moment who are very, very isolated? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The detail of the question, I'm assuming that Eric will know the detail, but on a general point in terms of buses, since buses got deregulated many decades ago, and since the buses were taken out of public ownership, I think there is an argument that actually if we are continuously negotiating and renegotiating and looking at how certain routes operate, certain routes don't operate, and where you have multiple providers in the same local authority area, like for example in your patch, it makes it a lot more difficult. So there's a debate to be had in terms of the totality of the whole thing, but in terms of the detail, I'm sure Eric will have more information on that. I'm hoping that he'll get here, but if he doesn't, I'll ask him to have a chat with you. Councillor Taylor, supplementary?
No supplementary on that, Chair, but I do have another question.
You got another question? Over to you.
And again, this was for Councillor Scott, so it's a bit unfortunate today. And it's about the Democracy Commission. So one of the things that the Democracy Commission was about to look at pre-COVID was the relationships with parish and town councils. So we do have an agreement with parish and town councils, but it's probably long overdue a refresh. We are coming up to elections for town and parish councils, and I just wondered what plans Councillor Scott had as chair of the Democracy Commission to perhaps pick up that piece of work again, so that we can, because I think, avoid getting into Wednesday's debate, but in terms of cost of living, there is potentially a role to be played by the town and parish councils as well as ourselves. But again, we need to have an active engagement with them, perhaps isn't there at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cassie Scott's actually on leave today, so she won't be turning up today. But what I'll do is I'll ask her to have a conversation with you. She's probably watching, actually, knowing her. Although she's on leave, right? Yeah, you know, she can't keep away. I'm sure she'll get back to you, John. Okay. Thank you, John, for them questions. Appreciate it. We've got nobody else online, have we? No. Item 8, update on the medium-term financial plan 2023-24 and following years. This is actually going to full council on Wednesday anyway, so I'm assuming that there'll be a lot more that will be said on this on Wednesday, but I'll pass on to Councillor Paul Davis. Paul, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, just two things before I go through the report. A couple of typos spotted. 1.5.2 actually refers to 13.4 million additional pressure on energy costs for 2023-24. It should be referred to as 2022-23. And 1.5.4 quotes 20% assumed uplift on energy for 2023-24, and it should be 10%. So apologies for that, but we spotted them this morning, so obviously we can rectify that for Council as well. Okay. So, as we know, under the Council's constitution, Cabinet is required to submit a provisional budget strategy update to Council, which will be this Wednesday, which we will do this Wednesday, and normally it's no later than October each year, and this is referred to as the medium-term financial strategy. This report sets out the framework for subsequent budget setting process and the future financial planning of the Council. Our approved budget plans for 2022-23 were signed off at Budget Council on the 16th of February this year, and they've shaped our Council plan, which set out our long-term ambitions for inclusive economic and social recovery for all of the district's citizens and communities. Kirklees has a record of sound financial management, despite low levels of government funding compared to similar authorities, and of course, in line with other authorities, the impact of austerity for over a decade. But good budget management is just a means to an end. Its main role is to create a foundation for delivering the services residents rely on and a way of investing in our infrastructure to generate economic growth and opportunities. However, as we know, since we agreed our budget for 2022-23, there have been significant global and domestic events which have now combined to change economic forecasts, which impacted both national and local financial planning. There have been numerous discussions which continue between Cabinet members and the executive team of the Council with regards to this, and the impact of these events for the Council were reported to Corporate Scrutiny Panel in July and to Cabinet through the Financial Outturn Report and Q1 Financial Monitoring Report 2022-23. And I think it's fair to say that this financial year has probably been one of the most turbulent in living memory, and that's probably an understatement. The impact of spiraling energy costs and the cost of living crisis is affecting every household in Kirklees. The Council also faces unprecedented increases in costs at the same time as demand for services continue to rise and continue to become, and also this demand becomes increasingly complex issues for our citizens. So in this context, the quality of our financial planning is even more important than it's been in the past, and hence why this document is now coming to Council a month earlier than we would normally take it to the board, to the members. The Budget Strategy Update Report is an important tool for us to manage the challenges we face. It considers the economic landscape, our spending and investment plans, and the changes we can forecast over the coming months, and looks at the key factors we need to take into account to set budgets and plan services for our people. In addition to recommending approval to the financial planning framework, both the revenue and capital side, the report also asks for some appropriate delegations relating to expressions of interest for continued participation in the Leeds City Region Business Rates Pool for 2023-24, concluding the electricity contract arrangements from April 2023, and the approach to our budget consultation and relevant timescales. And while the assumptions made in the report are based on best available information at the current time, we know that globally and nationally the economic picture continues to be fast-moving and unpredictable. Energy costs remain highly volatile, and the Council is seeing increases in demand for action and services as a result of the cost of living pressures on residents. In addition, pay awards and inflation on goods and services remain major and uncertain factors that will affect future plans. The Council is already taking steps to manage these challenges. These include a range of management actions to mitigate inflationary pressures on budgets in the current year, as well as reviewing the capital programme. The Council has also indicated how it will use its reserves to mitigate the impact of some of the immediate inflationary demands, and these actions will continue to develop as the Council enters its budget setting process. As this situation changes both financially and politically going forward, we will continue to update our forecasts and assumptions in order that we get the clearest picture that we can possibly have in terms of how we mitigate the challenges we face. In particular, we await the impact of the government's funding settlement for councils across England, which will go a long way to deciding our financial baseline for the coming year. And due to the unprecedented and unpredictable nature of the challenges facing local authorities and households in Kirklees, we will ensure that we bring forward further financial reports over the coming months beyond that which is required within the Constitution. These will contain detailed planning along with management actions and will allow the Council to maintain its ambition for Kirklees against a challenging economic landscape. And finally, the Council, as we all know, relies heavily on central government action to decide its financial baseline. And the financial settlement for local government is due in autumn, and the potential for an emergency national budget spending review in the coming weeks is also evident and will have a major impact on our assumptions. The Council will continue to work with other local authorities to highlight to government the historic challenges faced locally and the necessity of an equitable distribution of funding across councils in England. If I could then point members to section 7, where you'll find officers' recommendations, which as a portfolio holder I fully support. A number of those recommendations are around noting particular areas which I've referred to. But if you look at 7.3, it refers to approving the financial planning framework set out in section 1.3 of this report for the general fund revenue and section 1.9 for housing revenue account. Ask Cabinet in 7.4 to approve the financial planning framework for general fund and HRA capital as section 1.10 of this report. And then 7.6, 7.7 and 7.8 refer to approving delegation of authority to cover areas I've already referred to, namely the Leeds City Region Business Rate Pool, electricity renegotiations, and also the approach to budget consultation with regards to how we work going forward and relevant timescales. Clearly, as the leader mentioned, this will be referred from Cabinet today to Council on Wednesday for further discussion and debate. I would ask Cabinet to approve the recommendations as set out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paul Davis, and welcome, Councillor Rick Firth. I give you apologies that you were having transportation problems, but nice to see you. There was a question that John asked you about one of the buses in his ward, which I was going to ask you later on to respond, but what I'll do is we'll take it after this item, if that's okay.
To be fair, Chair, I'll talk to Eric after.
Oh, okay. Are you okay with that? Yeah, okay, so yeah, fine. Yeah, it was a straightforward question. Yeah, no, thank you very much, Councillor. Yeah, thanks very much, Councillor Taylor, for that understanding. Thanks for the report, Councillor Davis. What worries me is as we move into next few months through the winter, I'm hoping that there'll be some support that will be coming forward for households, for our businesses, and also public services, and that's really where I'm coming from, because as the leader of the council, I'm sure I speak for every single councillor on this local authority, that the first line of defence is usually local government. You know, I'm quietly confident that there will be something that will be coming forward from the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, and may I be one of the first in this council chamber to offer my congratulations to our new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. I'm sure we will be working with government wherever we can to make sure that we provide a safety net for all our residents. You know, inflation at 10.1%, predicted to go to 13, maybe up to 18%. I hope not. You know, the choice between food, fuel, inflation and the pay award, and the pay award is very, very important across the public sector, because you know the bottom line is a lot of our services run on staff providing that service. We've all heard of various stories throughout the national media in terms of, you know, service providers around care, you know, going bust because they can't afford to carry on as a business. And I'm hoping that, because the market failure has happened because of national and international phenomena that are beyond anybody's control. Nobody can plan for the catastrophe we've seen. So that's why when market failure happens, government intervention has got to be a must. And I just look forward that, you know, we go through the autumn, and the autumn statement has got some resources attached to it so that we can carry on our services. What we don't want to do is go back to the 10 years plus austerity. Once we aren't doing, or we aren't getting the message out there that we're going to be cutting, we will do everything we can to continue our services. But we will be reviewing this plan. Paul will be reviewing it a lot closer than I am. We'll make sure that we actually are prudent in our finances, but at the same time we will make sure that we carry on our business. But this is going to full council on Wednesday, and I'm sure that we'll have a bigger debate. But I'd like to second that recommendation. Are we all okay to approve that? Thank you, members. And that is the end of that meeting. It's probably the quickest meeting we've had for a long time. Thank you. Okay.